Hey y'all, I'm here to vlog about I Dream of Nene, Season 1, Episode 1. This is take 2, because the first one I recorded, I accidentally deleted. I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. But anyway, I'm just gonna vlog about it and then move on. So, it might be a quick vlog, and if it is, I'm gonna just add the second episode to it. So this episode starts off with Nene and Greg talking about the wedding, and Nene's pulling out her you know, her wedding dress and looking at the wedding dress, and she's like, I was a lot smaller back then or whatever. So her and Greg are talking about when they would have the wedding, because at the time Nene was a regular cast member on the new normal, and with that would like require her to fly from Atlanta to LA and back again. So her and Greg are discussing when they would have the wedding. She wants to have a June wedding so that it will be convenient for her to go back and forth. So after they discussed that, I guess it was just a discussion, and they didn't really come to like any sort of conclusion, but it was just, just to put it out there. So then they went into their, like, they have like a theater like room in their house. They went there to watch the old they went there to watch their old wedding video, and Nene was basically watching it to see what not to do, because she said that she said it's not a new wedding, but it's a new marriage. So everything that she did in her marriage the first time, she doesn't want to repeat it. So now she's trying to start off with a clean slate. So later on in the episode, her and Greg are driving in Athens, and they come across the venues and every place that they got married at. And I mean, although they had good times there or whatever, Nene doesn't want to repeat the same wedding. She wants a whole new wedding since it's a brand new slate. So they meet up with her aunts, and the aunts were like, well, I had faith that you guys would get back together. And I mean, me as a viewer, I thought her and Greg would get back together too. Like, they just needed that space to be apart. Because I seen how much Greg loved her and how much she loved him since the first season of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Like, they were the one couple I knew for sure were going to be rock solid and were going to make it. And I mean, around the time that the divorce happened, I kind of saw it coming, but I knew that they would get back together because they loved each other too much. So they were speaking about the past, and Greg is one, he doesn't want to talk about the past, he wants to talk about the future. And Nene is like, well, we can't talk about the future until you get rid of stuff that's going on, that's still popping up from your past. Greg is like, we can't move forward until you know let go of what happened in the past or whatever. So they have like two different outlooks. But I mean, I understand Nene's reason and I understand his reason. So, you know, they're on two different levels, and Nene is just trying to get them on the same page or whatever. So next, Nene goes to meet up with her lawyer, and this was the same lawyer that was her divorce lawyer, and they're talking about possibly getting a prenup. So Nene is saying this time around she wants to get a prenup for the simple fact that while her and Greg were apart, she made money, however she made money with her own businesses, her own, whatever, her own brand basically. So she already said that she know how Greg fights in court, and she doesn't want to risk not having a prenup, and then, God forbid they get another divorce or whatever, and it gets nasty in court. So she doesn't want that to happen. So she's just getting a prenup for protection. Now, in my opinion, like, as far as a prenup goes, I don't knock it for anybody that feels like they need it. And honestly, I feel like a prenup is for rich people. Like, I feel like if you have money that you got from, I don't know, you could have been a child star. It's just your money that you had before you got into the relationship. And let's say the person that you decide to marry, they either had money before they met you, or they didn't have money but they came into the relationship, and it's basically like what's yours is mine. But at the same time, you got to be safe, because like Nene said, people get dirty in court. Like, divorce is an ugly thing. So this time around, Nene just wants to be safe. She wants to be cautious. It doesn't mean that she's not gonna share whatever she's supposed to share with Greg. It's just that whatever she got when they were divorced, she wants to keep for herself, and whatever they bring into the marriage together is gonna be her and Greg. I get it, but honestly, prenups are for rich people. I don't think I would get a prenup because I don't have businesses. I'm not an entrepreneur or nothing like that. So that's just me. But I honestly feel like people that are rich, they're the ones that need the prenup more than us middle class, I guess. So we go from there to the radio interview. She had a radio interview where she's talking about her upcoming wedding, and um, they asked her if she was going to get a prenup, and she told them that she was going to get a prenup. Now, I don't think I would have told all of Atlanta that I was going to get a prenup before I told my husband. That's a little, you know? So, I mean, the fact that she did that, at least she said that right after she did the interview. She was going to talk to Greg about it so that he wouldn't feel some kind of way if he heard it on the radio before they spoke about it. So, her and Greg, they meet up at this little, I guess, place for lunch or whatever, and Nene wants to discuss just cleaning up the past, just putting stuff to bed finally so that they can move forward in their marriage. And one of the main things that Nene wants to clear up is the fact that Greg has 5 other kids that we, as viewers, for the longest did not really know about. But he has 5 older kids, 4 boys and a girl. And according to Nene feels like they don't like her because she's the reason why their parents, Greg and his first wife, who he was married to for 20 years, yeah, she feels like they feel like that she came in and broke up the marriage because remember Nene was a stripper back in the day, so she feels like that they blame her for Greg's first marriage failing, and Greg is assuring her that that's not the case at all. And Nene is like, well, I just want to set the record straight. When me and Greg got together, he was not married. I did not cheat on. I wasn't his side piece. None of that. We got together. We got married or whatever. And when we got married, nobody was married to nobody. So, but I mean, if you really think about it, failing first marriage, stripper comes in, marries him, has a baby by him. The older kids are over here. The new family is over here. That's a scandalous story. But, I mean, it didn't go down that way, but that's what it seems like. So, next, well, Nene wants to go to premarital counseling because she feels like they don't have any type of communication. Because Greg just wants to sweep stuff under the rug, and Nene's like, no, we sweep it under the rug, it's going to fester and fester and fester, and we have to bring it to the light. Like, we got to stop playing, and we have to, we have to talk about it. So, Nene meets up with her Uncle Mel, and she said that's her favorite uncle, and I could see why. Her Uncle Mel is funny as hell. First of all, I don't know why she's getting marital advice from him. The man been married 5 times, and Nene herself said that he didn't marry for love, he married for looks. And that's why all his marriages failed. But still, he seemed like he's still in high spirits, he still have fun with life, because he was funny. So they're talking, and he asked her if she was going to let her dad walk her down the aisle. Now, if you've been watching Real Housewives of Atlanta since the first season like I have, you'll know that Nene found out the first season that Curtis, who's her dad, is not her biological dad. So, Nene is saying she doesn't want him to walk her down the aisle again because he basically just shut her and her family out when he found out he wasn't her dad. And I mean, that's dead wrong to do. Because, I mean, even though, like, a real man would still take care of, like, continue to take care of a child that he's known as his daughter for however long, you don't just shut them out like that. Like, that's not, it's not their fault they're not your child. It's the mother. The mother was the scandalous one. It wasn't Nene's fault. So, and the thing that I noticed is that even though, he's not her biological dad, she still calls him dad. And I'm like, that's sad. She still calls him dad, but he's basically treating her like, he's basically shelving her like, well, that ain't my daughter, so I ain't got to do for her. I ain't got to be there for her. No. Believe it or not, it don't matter how old a girl, it doesn't matter how old a child gets, we still need our parents. I'm about to be 26 in 2 months. I still need my mother. I'm not even gonna sit up here in front. I still need my mother, and I mean, it's just a cycle. Like, you're always gonna still need your parents. So for him to do that, I think that was dead wrong. But Nene was mature about the whole thing. She called, spoke to him, invited him to her wedding, and I mean, I thought that was nice. But I'm like, that's dead wrong. How you just push your child to the side like that. But anyway, so um, let me see. So Nene is now going furniture shopping with Bryson, and Bryson is her older son. Now, something happened with Bryson. Dude is on crutches, so according to Nene, he was in a car wreck or whatever. But Nene is just like, she's like, okay, you were in a car wreck, and he said he had to be on bed rest for 3 months, and he's been doing good with the bed rest. But I'm sitting up here like, because Nene was like, I just wish Bryson would grow up. And I'm like, yeah. Because, I mean, like I said, if you watch this show from season 1, you'll see Bryson is just real nonchalant about everything. Like, he's mad nonchalant. Like, he doesn't care about life. Like, he's not motivated to do anything. And Nene is like, okay, well, you're a dad now. You got to grow up. And it's the truth. Like, he's a dad. As far as I know, he has 2 babies by the same girl. He has a girl named Briasia, and from what I heard, he has a boy. I don't know the boy's name, but I heard he has a boy. So it's like, okay, you're the father of 2, and it's like, you don't want to do nothing with your life. And he's 23. And I mean, I, for one, understand it's perfectly okay not to have, you're not going to have everything together in your 20s. Your 20s is like, I would say your 20s is like, because I mean, each part of your life is a phase, and I feel like your 20s is where you're still finding yourself. And if you become a parent before you're 30, you're trying to adjust. You're trying to adjust to being an individual, but being somebody else's, somebody, you, I'm trying to word it right. If you become a parent before you're 30, you're working on trying to be yourself along with somebody's parent. You're trying to get used to somebody else depending on you, and that you have to do for. So I mean, I get that. I'm not saying I got my stuff together at 25. I don't. I really don't. But I'm not immature. I put my child before everything, and when I can find time to myself, then this is what I'm doing, vlogging. I'm doing stuff, me time. But other than that, I'm not immature. I'm not nonchalant about stuff. I could do a lot better with the motivation, but I mean, it's stuff that motivates me to get out and do what I gotta do. Like, I take care of business, first and foremost. I take care of business, I take care of my son, and as long as that's taken care of, I'm good. And that's how it is. I just feel like Bryson is not like that. Like, he just feel like because his parents got money, he doesn't have to work a day in his life, or he doesn't have to be responsible. And I'm pretty sure that's how Nene feels. So, they're furniture shopping or whatever, and that's how Nene is feeling with him and his immaturity. And she was speaking to him about Greg and his communication issues and his kids or whatever. And somehow the conversation went to Bryson being single, and Nene is like, but aren't you with Briage's mom or whatever? He's like, no, I'm single. So Nene is like, okay, well, you could be single, but you just better make sure you take care of your baby. And Nene is like, I will not allow my glam baby, that's what she called Briasia. She's like, I will not allow my glam baby to not have her father around. I'm like, I hear that. Okay, you get on that ass. We get to the nitty gritty of the episode. Premarital counseling with Dr. Jeff. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Dr. Jeff was the same therapist that was on the episode of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta with Mimi, Stevie, and Jocelyn. When Jocelyn cold mollywopped Stevie in the head for lying to him, for lying to her. Sorry. So, Dr. Jeff is there for the premarital counseling, and Nene is telling him how Greg doesn't want to discuss what's going on. He just wants to sweep stuff under the rug, and she wants to talk about the past so that it's not repeated in their relationship again. And the whole time Greg is just like, he really does not want to be there. You can tell. He's like, he looks annoyed, and Nene is like, well, I don't care how annoyed you are, we need premarital counseling. So Greg said he wants to keep personal issues personal, and Nene is like, it's not really about keeping personal issues personal. It's about talking stuff out and putting it to rest so that it doesn't carry on its own life again. And I get that. So the whole time they sitting there talking, Greg got an attitude. He being stubborn, and he's saying to Dr. Jeff, well, how are you going to talk about a situation you know nothing about if I didn't tell you anything about it? And then when Dr. Jeff mentioned his kids, that's when everything went left. Like, Greg just took whatever Dr. Jeff said to heart. And it wasn't even like that. Dr. Jeff was merely saying, if you have your kids over here and you got Nene and the rest of your in your new family over here, how can you bring them together? Greg was not having it. Greg was like, you can't talk about my kids because you don't know anything about them. And he was just being stubborn and mean. And every time Dr. Jeff spoke, he's just like, psst, psst. And he was like, even when Nene was like, you're not even trying to communicate, or you're trying to shut everybody out. And Dr. Jeff was like you trying to shut me out. And he was like, hey man, you shut up, or something like that. I swear to God, for 2 seconds, Greg reminded me of, y'all remember watching DMX on Iyanla Fix My Life, and every time DMX was trying to talk to his son, and Iyanla would occasionally, pop in and say something to Xavier or to DMX or whatever, and DMX kept telling her to shut up and whatnot. That's what Greg reminded me of in this episode. He was just off the hook, stubborn, rude to Dr. Jeff. And I'm like, Dr. Jeff is a good ass doctor, because I would have went off. But at the same time, as a therapist or whatever, or when you just dealing with people, sometimes you just gotta take that with a grain of salt and move on. Like, you gotta woosah. You can't really take it personal, because when they lash out at you, it's not you, it's just the situation or whatever. So Dr. Jeff is cool. I ain't never seen Dr. Jeff ain't even break a sweat. So I'm like, wow. So I mean, that's how the episode ended. Like, Greg just was real stubborn, real mean, real nasty to Dr. Jeff. It was crazy. So yeah, that's basically the review for I Dream of Nene season 1 episode 1. I'll be back to do season 1 episode 2. So I'll see you in the next vlog. Later.